Hello everyone, this is Ranjani from PS Abdur Rahman Crescent Institute of Science and Technology, Vandalur, Chennai. We would like to welcome you all for the virtual one-day seminar on pathogenesis and prevention of zoonotic disease to celebrate World Zoonosis Day, 6th July. So my topic is on food zoonosis. Food zoonosis is one of the topic which comes under zoonotic diseases. Before entering into my talk, I would like to begin my talk with a quote. Even the humblest creature has to know how to react to the difference between food and toxin if it is to survive. Life and some level of intelligent behavior, discerning and doing what's best for one's survival appear to go in hand. This is said by David Darling. Coming to the topic, what is zoonosis? So we have come across a lot of lectures by professors. So through that lecture, we came to know that zoonotic disease is also called as zoonosis or caused by germs that spread between animal and people. You can see the pictorial representation. So we all familiar with COVID-19. So we know that it is one of the zoonotic diseases. It has started from bat and it is spreaded through other animals and finally to human beings. So zoonotic disease, also known as zoonosis, caused by germs that spread between animals and people. So we all know that animal is one of the wonderful creature that gives lot of benefits to people. Many people interact with animals in their daily lives, both in home, away from home. They offer lot of sophisticated things such as food, fiber, livelihood, travel, support, companionship, and education for people across the globe. Millions of households in the US have at least one or more pets. Even in India, we all have pets such as dog, cats, and farmers used to have cows, buffaloes, etc. So, we might come to contact with animals in either urban or rural setting during travel or while visiting animal exhibitions or visiting farms, etc. So, however, animals may carry some harmful germs that can spread to human beings and cause illness that is called as zoonotic diseases. So this is the brief introduction about zoonosis. So my topic is on foodborne zoonosis. What is foodborne zoonosis? The zoonosis is caused by consumption of food or water contaminated by pathogenic, that is, this is causing microorganisms such as bacteria, viruses, and parasites. They enter into the body through the gastrointestinal tract where the first symptoms often occur. So, etiological classification of foodborne zoonosis are viral zoonosis, parasitic zoonosis, mycotic zoonosis, and bacterial zoonosis. So, what is viral zoonosis? It is caused by virus. One of the virus we know familiar is COVID-19. So, example is avian influenza, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and under parasitic zoonosis, there are protozoal infections like toxoplasmosis and sarcoidosis, worms, trematode, and nematodes, and cestodes. And mycotic zoonosis, example is ringworm, which is caused by fungi and yeast. And bacterial zoonosis, we know a number of bacteria plays a role as both beneficial and harmful. So next we'll come into the point how common causes and symptoms of foodborne illness occurs. So they're caused by consumption of contaminated foods and beverages, and through disease causing microbes or pathogens can contaminate foods. Bacteria, viruses, and fungi that such as yeast, molds, and parasites are the major causative agents which may transmitted from animals to human beings in any one of the ways. So other diseases such as poisoning caused by harmful toxins, example fungal toxins, and chemicals that have contaminated food, even the herbicides and insecticides, pesticides which are used in farms. The common symptoms of foodborne illness are diarrhea and another one is vomiting, typically lasting from 1 to 7 days. The other symptoms may include abdominal cramps, nausea, fever, backaches, and fatigue. This may vary from bacterial infection to fungal infection, so it is based upon the disease. So the stomach flu may actually be a foodborne illness caused by a pathogen, virus, bacteria, or parasite in contaminated food or drink. The incubation period, that is the time of exposure between the pathogen and the onset of disease, that is symptoms, may range from several weeks to 1 week. Next, we'll come into the pictorial representation. What are the major foods which plays an important role in spreading the foodborne pathogens? We are coming across lot of foodstuffs, mainly chickens, that is meat, fishes, eggs, and milk products. So these are the main causative agent for the spread of foodborne zoonosis. Why? Because the chickens which are grown in poultry are fed with lot of antibiotics for promoting their growth as well as to increase their weight. So when the poultry hens are fed with lot of antibiotics as a growth promoters, there is a chance for the development of antibiotic resistant strains. This antibiotic resistant strains will transfer from hen or other animal like chickens, ducks. So they will be transmitted from animals, that is birds, out of consumption. So there is a chance for the transfer of genes, such as by means of horizontal gene transfer, so that the development of antibiotic resistant strains may develop in the human being also. That is one of the major problem which is we are facing. This antimicrobial resistance stands second, that is next to cancer in the world. And next most important is fish. The fish which is used or which are used to eat are contaminated with lot of viruses, bacteria, so which may transfer to human beings and cause many diseases. Example is vibriosis. And third important is milk and milk products. So mostly the cattle, that is dairy animals, are used for milk and milking product. So there are many diseases which affects cows when the udder is, for example, the one such disease is mastitis. When the cow's udder is infected with some bacteria or fungi or parasites, it may cause swollen udder, and when we are milking, the pathogens will enter into the milk. So once the consumer is having that milk, may get transferring of such bacteria or virus or fungi to the consumers. So in such a way, the disease are transferring, that is zoonotic organism, or transferring from animals, hens, chickens, ducks, goat, cow to consumers. So we can see that is poultry, egg, meat products, milk and milk products, dairy products, even cooked rice and pasta. When we are having food in restaurant, there won't be any hygienic practices. So there may be a chance of transferring of some pathogenic organism while serving, when using common dining tables, etc. So next is milking. Milking is a major drawback, I told you, because there may be a chance for contaminating with other pathogens while transportation, while milking to consumers. Milk products and lot of fruits, vegetables, everything should be washed thoroughly before use. And ducks, chickens, everything, and well in butcher shop. So while cutting the meat, they should be very sterile and they should not be contaminated or contaminated with any pathogens. So there is an informal practice, that is illegal practice in the meat shop. So they should be strictly followed to avoid the transmission of zoonotic organism to human beings. So in this table we can see what all the different pathogens and food category and number of outbreaks which are associated with foodborne zoonosis. The first one is scamboid which is caused through fish. The next is Sigua toxin. This is also caused through fish. Salmonella, which is caused through chicken. And Campylobacter, which is caused through dairy products. And norovirus, which is caused through mollusks. And Salmonella, which is caused by pork. And Vibrio parahemolyticus, which is caused by mollusks. So most of the foodborne pathogens are caused from fishes. And second stands with chickens. So next slide we'll move on to who are all the people are at risk. So generally we say in COVID situation, we used to say that old age people should be very safe and the people with comorbidity conditions should be very safe. Similarly, this kind of zoonotic disease are also matches with the same criteria. Children younger than 5 and adults older than 65, people with weakened immune systems, pregnant women, veterinarians, abattoir workers, poultry workers, livestock workers, and consumers. This pictorial representation shows who are all the health risk people, because CDC, as per CDC guidelines, this is the standard procedure which is followed all over the world. This is a pictorial representation how this zoonosis, foodborne zoonosis, is transferred to human beings. Mostly people will be having a peak, which if it is getting any infection or if it is getting contaminated with any microorganism, that will be transferred through foodstuffs which is prepared through them. Another one thing, through animals. One is, this is farm animals, this is wild animals. Now both the way, when it is entering into the people table, that is consumer, it should be thoroughly cooked, it should be thoroughly cleaned. So if it is contaminated with some pathogenic organism, the major route which is entering is oral route. So when it is entering through oral route, the main organ which is exposed to is intestinal system. So it causes large number of stomach upset, dysentery, diarrhea, and vomiting, etc. So these are the major drawback of having the uncooked food and properly cooked food. So everything, whatever thing which we are using from outside, it should be cleaned thoroughly and it should be uh, processed properly before we have it as a food. So next slide we'll move on to what are all the modes for spread between animals and people. So we should know what are all the different modes which is responsible for the spread of these diseases. So how the germs spread between animals and people? The first one is direct contact. So what is direct contact? So coming into a contact with the saliva, blood, urine, mucus, feces, and other body fluids of an infected animal. It may include while we are petting some dogs or cats. So when we are touching infected animals, or when it is biting or scratching, there may be a chance to spread this organism from animals to human beings. The second one is indirect contact. As we show, while touching, we should avoid touching and we should avoid moving close with the pet animals when it is majorly infected. The second one is indirect contact. What is indirect contact? Indirect contact is coming into a contact with area where animals are live and they roam around, or objects or surfaces that has been contaminated with germs, like farms, like poultry farms, etc. So example we can include, if we take fish, that is aquarium tank, that is the water which is in aquarium tank, and then pet habitats, chicken cops, that is we can call it as hut for chicken, and barns, and plants, soil as well as. So these are the major places where which is filled with lot of microbes. So if it is pathogen, it may easily transfer into human beings and will be getting lot of diseases. Third one is called as vector borne. Vector, we know that there are n number of vector which is present in environment. So they majorly by bitten by a tick or insect like mosquito or flea, etc. It may transmit some viruses by biting, or even it may cause its own diseases. Third is foodborne. Foodborne is even when we are having a food from animals, or even when we are having food from natural resources like plants, it should be thoroughly cleaned. When it is not properly cleaned, then it may lead to foodborne zoonosis. So when we consider foodborne, each year 1 in 6 American get sick from getting infected with this foodborne zoonosis. So eating or drinking something unsafe, such as unpasteurized raw milk, so milk without boiling, undercooked meat or eggs, so it should be cooked properly, and raw fruits, vegetables that are contaminated with the feces from an infected animals. And contaminated food can cause illness in people and animal, even including our pets. So there is a lot of chances for transferring the disease from animal to humans, as well as from human to animals. So we should be safe while having a food, and it should be thoroughly cleaned and properly cooked. Next is waterborne diseases. Waterborne, that is drinking or coming in contact with water that has been contaminated with fecal material of infected animals, or when the animals are drinking the water and we are using the same water. So this is what leads to waterborne disease. So we can see what is the percentage of foodborne zoonosis which is caused by The zoonotic diseases. The first and foremost portion is occupied by fish, that is 17%, and dairy, which is 11% because of milk and milk products, and chicken 9% because of usage of antibiotics may leads to a more and more antibiotic resistance strains in both dairy and chicken. Next, beef and mollusks, pork, vegetable row crops, fruits and grains, beans, etc., turkey, seeded vegetables, egg, sprouts, root, underground vegetables, fungi, game, crustaceans, etc. This is a pie chart which shows how far we are infected with zoonotic diseases through various means, especially by having a different food, both of animal origin and from green source. So this shows that we should be very stringent in following the rules and regulation in cooking the foods. So, safer food for all regulators based on World Health Organization, it shows that every year 600 million people are affected by this, or we can say 1 in 10 people in the world globally are affected by these contaminated foods. So we can say 420,000 deaths a year as a result of foodborne diseases. So 54% deaths are caused by diarrhea and 12% deaths are caused by other foodborne diseases. So there are two type of diseases, that is short term and long term. Short term, that is simple. It can be cured off by normal treatment, as I said, 1 to 7 days. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, etc. Long term cancer, kidney failure, liver failure, paralysis, brain and neuronal disorders. So the WHO is keep on watching the food safety in order to maintain the proper rules and regulations. So they have framed certain set of rules and regulation for packing the foods and taking it to the consumer side. So this is the pictorial representation showing how far the foodborne outbreaks between 96 to 2006. So India is not majorly affected by those diseases. Luckily, we are following a traditional food habits with lot of spices, so we are not getting infected by most of the diseases. So example, we are having more and more pepper, cardamom, humans, and we are having lot of green teas. So these are like real antibacterial, antioxidant agents that helps in increasing our immunity system and fighting against those diseases and helping out of those diseases. So next we'll come on to causes of foodborne illness. What are the different organisms which are playing important role? So previously the professors were discussing about bacterial, fungal, parasite, viral. So it is like a gist of all those things. I like to summarize it in a single slide. That is Campylobacteriosis, which is caused by Campylobacter, and Cryptosporidiosis and Cryptosporidium. Cyclosporiasis, which is caused by Cyclospora species, E. coli O157H7, which is a major infective agent which is spread all over the world. And next is Giardiasis, caused by Giardia. Listeriosis, which is caused by Listeria monocytogenes. Norovirus infection, that is called as Acarnidal virus. Calcivirus, viral gastroenteritis. And salmonellosis caused by Salmonella, scombroid fish poisoning, Sigellosis, which is caused by Shigella, Toxoplasmosis, which is caused by Toxoplasma gonadi, and Vibrio infection, which is majorly caused by all the Vibrio strains like Vibrio parahemolyticus, Vibrio gallicticus, etc. And Yersiniosis, which is caused by Yersinia species, Salmonellosis, which is caused by Salmonella sysite, sorry for the repetition, and highest severity rate goes for Listeria monocytogenes, Clostridium botulinum, Mycobacterium. And three main high-risk hazards are caused by Yersinia enterocolitiae, that is Staphylococcus enterica, and Campylobacter species. So next we'll go on to foodborne zoonotic pathogens. So they are classified into diarrheal and non-diarrheal pathogens. The first circle focuses on bacteria. So E. coli, Campylobacter and Salmonella causes diarrhea. So it comes under diarrheal pathogen, and Staphylococcus stands in between. It may cause diarrhea or may not cause diarrhea in animal and humans. And non-diarrheal pathogens include Brucella, which is caused through milk and meat, contaminated milk and meat. Mycobacterium bovis mainly from milk, and Bacillus anthracis mainly from dead animal and skin. When we come to virus, that is rotavirus, which is caused through water, and hepatitis virus E, which is caused through meat, which is non-diarrheal, and Rickettsia, which causes diarrhea, and Coxella burnetii. This is from cows and causes Q fever, which is non-diarrheal. Parasites, that is Taenia species, which is from meat, and Giardia lamblia, mainly from water, which may cause diarrhea. And another one is called cystiocercosis, which is caused by pork human fecus. So this is my fecal transmission. So this may cause diarrhea and this may not cause diarrhea. This shows about the foodborne zoonotic pathogens. Next, how can we control the foodborne pathogens? So there are two important steps in this. One is called as from farm to table approach. Second one is called as implementation of HACCP, HACCP. So what is called as farm to table approach? So this focus mainly how the food is transferred, that is transported from the harvest place to consumer's table. There are certain rules and regulations that should be followed strictly to avoid the transfer of some pathogens to human beings. And second one is implementation of HACCP. What is HACCP? HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. So there are some critical checkpoints that is checked in an orderly way and it is certified as HACCP so that we can consume that food safely and without any hesitation. So let us focus on how to control the foodborne disease in this. So we can see the food chain supply. So from farm to fork, what are all the different steps involved in the farm to fork? So first is called as sustainable food production. It may be from agricultural land, vegetables, crops, cereals, pulses. So the harvest will be takes place in the farm. From a farm, it should be processed. That is, it should be processed into a sustainable food processing and distribution. So it should be packed properly. It should be cleaned properly. So all the process will take place in the sustainable food processing and distribution. And third one is sustainable food consumption. So before consumption, it should be sold into retail shops so that the consumers can consume from the retail shop. And fourth is the consumer. So consumer should have the food and without food loss and waste prevention. This is the food supply chain which is called as from farm to fork. Let us see in detail about this farm to fork system. So the food supply chain key players are farmers, processors, transportation and storage, and consumers. Farmers. The food what the farmers do, the farmers will harvest and they will keep their cereals, pulses, everything. So when we come into the chain stage one, that is farmers, the food origin is a majority of food products and ingredients derived from agriculture. We know that this type of environment is much less controlled and is a potential source of food safety concern. So each year, more and more consumers search for food sources not growing using these chemicals. So the major important thing is shifting to organic methods and biological farming where only natural occurring pest control methods are used. So farm owners work closely with the certified scientists and farm advisory boards like agriculturalists to properly implement the use of fertilizers, antibiotics, pesticides, and animal husbandry. Once products have been safely harvested by the farmers, the food products can move to the next level of the food supply that is called as processing, that is handled by the processor. So, what are the important things? The first rule to regulate the food on farms and set minimum safety standards is focused on irrigation and agricultural water. That is foremost thing. Otherwise, it will lead to some waterborne diseases. That is zoonotic diseases. Materials put into the soil. That is manure, which plays an important role. And worker health and hygiene. The workers, the farmers should be very healthy and hygiene to handle all those things. An intrusion of animals in growing areas. There may be a chance of getting transmitted from bacteria or virus or fungi, etc. Other equipments and tools and building sanitation. These are the important checkpoints in the step one, that is farmers. So farmers should be very cautious on all those things. And once the farmer has done with their things, next we'll move on to processor. The supply chain too. Food processing, a large portion of the available foodstuffs are produced by small percentage of the population. The function of preservation and processing food are critical in order to get food products to consumer safely and in edible condition. Food is processed in a variety of manner to meet consumers' demand. For example, it should be fresh and it should be of rich in nutritive value and it should be convenience, variety and affordability. So when we speak on supply chain stage 2, that is processor, food processing as a consumer expectation and demand evolve. Food manufacturers are performing a growing variety of processing activities including harvesting, slaughtering, catching, that is killing, cutting, cleaning, packaging, refrigeration, and other important secondary processing activities like heating, cooling, drying, smoking, fermentation, and additives. So these are the important steps in the second stage. So once the food processing is covered, to manage the food safety and quality throughout these process activities, the manufacturers develop and implement industry and company as good manufacturing processes and hazard analysis, that is HACCP, will be followed and quality assurance standards will be fulfilled. So these standards help to develop a safe manufacturing process while more accurately identifying possible contamination points. So this is important in processing, that is it should be processed in such a way it should be edible and it should be liked by the consumers and it should be properly packed and preserved before going into the consumer's hand. And third important supply chain stage 3 is intermediary transport and storage. So it should be transported from processor to like markets, some grocery shops, etc. So this is the place where the transportation takes place. So how this happens? It by means of transportation vehicles, and there are some proper checkpoints in monitoring and tracking the proper procedures, including like temperature setup, humidity setup, atmosphere handling conditions, tracking and monitoring these factors in real time in detail should be used to comply the food safety regulations such as FSME. So this is important thing that it should reach the end consumer without changing the temperature, humidity, etc. So it will be as such as the farm product, and its taste, its flavor will not be changed when it reach to the consumer side. So while transferring, they should be checked with proper facilities like inadequate heating during preparation and food being left too long at room temperature, cross contaminations between cooked and raw food, and handling pack everything in a proper way, and contamination during preparations. These should be followed correctly during transportation and storage. And the next important thing is consumers. So what consumers likes? The consumers likes a very good and very safe and hygienically packed food products. So what is there in the consumer's hand is they should handle it in a way, uh, they should take the food in a proper hygiene hand with proper cleaned utensils, and while packing and when getting into their home they should clean up the things thoroughly. So this is all in the consumer's hand. The consumer consumption throughout the farm to fork process, farmers, retailer processors, distributors plays an important role. The four consumers play their critical role. Preventing contamination is a shared responsibility in the food supply chain, and that does not end once in the contamination is shared responsibility in the food chain supply. So when the food reaches the consumers ends consumer, so it should be of full responsible with the consumer point. So many foodborne illness at the consumer level are direct results of inadequate heating during preparation. Once they bought the packed or frozen meat from this shop, they should heat properly and they should cook thoroughly, and before that they should clean it properly. So that is the important thing. The whole responsibility is a consumer hand. The next is contamination during preparation. So during preparation they may get contaminated. So they should follow the strict handling and preparation standards at the consumer level. Should be, it's very important in the fourth level of supply chain. So these are the four levels plays an important role for farmers, processors, transporters, and consumers. This is called as farm to fork method. And the next one important thing is HACCP. So as I said, HACCP is uh, acronym of Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. So it will check all the hazards, analyze the presence of microbials some E. coli, toxins, everything. Analytic methods will be used to analyze the presence of any other organisms, and critical checkpoints will be there, and these checkpoints will be controlled, and the final point is certified as a HACCP. So this is very important, as these symbols suggest it will check for all the things. It will satisfy all the critical checkpoints before it reaches the consumer point. So like freeze, consumer residues, illness, botulisms, preparation, disease inspection, microorganisms, cooking, controlling GMOs, safe. Some countries will have banned the use of GMOs. So these are the important checkpoints which is controlled by the HACCP. So HACCP certified is one of the certificate which certifies all the things starting from hazard to critical checkpoints. So we'll see detail into that. So it has a 7-step in HACCPs. As I told you, it will analyze the hazards, and it will help in the it will analyze then the critical checkpoints will be checklisted. So the why this system is very important is the problem is new germs that causes foodborne illness, and changing nature of global food supply, new techniques of processing and serving food, and changing eating habits of consumers, and then a growing number of people who are at increased risk of experiencing some foodborne illness. This is one of the important problem that we are all facing in this scenario. So only one solution is HACCP. That is, this follows the food safety system. The greatest amount of attention is placed on food, and how it is handled during storage, preparation, and service, as like farm to fork. The HACCP system helps food managers identify and control potential problem before they happen. So there are each and every checklist that will be checklist checked, and it will move on to the next stage before it reaches the consumer's point. So it is recommended as the best method for ensuring food safety in retail establishment is HACCP. This system has been used by food processors for many years to monitor and protect food from contaminations, starting from hazardous chemicals, pesticides, insecticides, GMOs, microorganisms, and lot of toxins which are produced by fungus. So everything will be analyzed, and it will proper checkpoints will be checklisted, and it will reach the consumer point uh, after satisfying all these steps. So what is the benefits means? This enables good managers to identify the foods and process that are most likely to cause foodborne illness. That is very important. For example, when we are having processed meat, that is canned food, stored food, and for example baby meals, everything should be perfect, and it should not be contaminated with microorganisms. So this HACCP certified will help the consumers to feed on those things without any hesitations. So this is one of the important benefits of this HACCP. So it helps everyone in all around the world in maintaining the proper food system and food safety. So as I told you, it has a 7 principle in HACCP system. Hazard analysis, identify critical checkpoints. 7 step. Hazard analysis, identify critical checkpoints at critical limits, establish a monitoring system, establish a corrective actions, establish verification procedures, and establish record keeping procedures. So this is the 7 steps which is involved in the HACCP. So I will tell briefly about what are all the 7 steps which is involved in this. One is first is called as hazard analysis. The hazard analysis will analyze the hazard present in the system. That is, considerable possible food hazards in your establishment could be related to any ingredients, taps, equipments, chemicals, process, etc., and evaluate the likelihood and severity of each hazard to determine which should be addressed in a hazard plan. And second is determine critical points, a step, a procedure where a food hazard can be prevented, eliminated, or reduced to a safe level. And third one is set critical limit. This is a measurable or observable parameter that must be achieved to control a hazard. For example, maintaining particular temperature, maintaining a particular humidity, like that. And fourth is establish a monitoring system. How will you ensure that the critical limits at the above set limits are met? So we should have some monitoring system to measure all those things. And fifth is establish a corrective action. What must be done if a critical limit is not met? If the temperature is not maintained properly, if the humidity is not maintained properly, so what is the alternative method to move on to the next level? That is in order to solve the problem that we are facing in the previous stage. The next is establish corrective action. That is establish corrective actions. How to correct the mistakes or some drawbacks faced in the step 4. And 6 is establish a verification procedure. The ongoing procedures to ensure that your hazard plan works. We should set a protocol and we should make a checklist of all those things, and every step should be satisfied by the needs, and it should be perfect in planning the protocol for hazard certification. And seventh is report recording. So summary of the hazard analysis, hazard plan, and supporting documents used to establish CCPs, critical limits, and other procedures. All these things should be recorded and it should be stored. And record created during plan operation, including monitoring, corrective actions, and verification. If something goes wrong, what is the solution that is given to the system? Everything should be recorded. And this is the 7 steps which is involved in the hazard techniques. So as a whole, these two methods, farm to fork and hazard certification, helps the consumers to have the food without any hesitation. So finally, I would like to conclude my talk by by telling the safety measures. How can we protect ourselves and our families from zoonotic diseases? The first and foremost thing, as we are keep on hearing because of corona, so first keep your hands clean. So we should wash our hands clean, and we should not touch any surface of our face. So it should be clean. And when we are coming to animal point of view, we should not get bitten by mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas, because they are the main vectors which are the responsible for many diseases which are transferred from animals to human beings, as well as mosquitoes also causes diseases. Even ticks will cause some irritations, some skin diseases, etc. So we should be aware of zoonotic diseases both at home or from away from home, like child care settings or schools, everywhere. Wherever you travel, you should be very safe and precautious to get rid of these zoonotic infection. So we should avoid bites and scratches from animals. While we are playing with our pet animals, it should not be bitten, or it should not scratch our body surface, because that may carry some infectious organism that may transfer to our body. So when we are talking about our pets, that is animals, we should not be very close to our pets. Children under 5 years of age, adults that is 65 years of age, should not keep on touching the pet animals because of their weakened immune system. We should not have touch with rodents, reptiles, and amphibians, even poultry, chickens. We should not keep on touching, we should not playing around them. So, and next one thing, many people will be very close to their pets. They should not kiss them, they should not snuggle them, they should be held away from the animals, because there may be a chance of spreading the germs from animals to them. And the animal should be properly vaccinated, and it should be cleaned properly, and it should be washed thoroughly, and everything. We should supervise the animals, their health conditions by proper vaccination. And we should not keep the pets inside the kitchen. We should not have food along with the pets. These are the things that we should avoid, and we should maintain distance from our pets, even mainly when they are feeling ill or when they are feeling sick. So we should clean up the fecal samples of those pet animals. We should thoroughly clean it, and we should not leave it as such. And then we should not play with animals. And when we are visiting some wildlife zoos, etc., we should keep a safe distance from them in order to avoid the spread of some zoonotic diseases. And in order to lower the risk of food poisoning, that is foodborne illness, we should follow some steps in cleaning our fruits and vegetables. First, we should wash our hands with warm water and soap before or after preparing the fresh procedures. That is when we are before cutting our fruits or vegetables, when we are cleaning the meat, fishes, etc. We should wash our hand thoroughly, and we should wash them with sodium chloride, that is salt, or with turmeric, or with vinegar, because it has its own antibacterial property. So we should wash them thoroughly with the running water and gently rub their surfaces. When we are handling with potatoes, apples, cucumbers, we should scrub with brush. That is, we should wash it hardly over the surface in order to remove any debris of pesticides or insecticides or anything chemicals which is sticking over the fruits and vegetables. And to dry produce after washing, use a clean cloth or paper towel, then we can refrigerate it. So for a better idea, we can add a drop of essential oils like lemon oil, citral oil, because it has its own antibacterial activity. So when we add a drop of those oils, and after washing our vegetables with these oils, all the infectious organisms or any pathogens will go away and will be very sterile. So we should follow this hygienic practice throughout our life in order to avoid the risk of these zoonotic diseases. So when coming to the conclusion, I can say we should be very clean and safe, and so that we can be ourselves clean, and we can be make our family healthy and happy. So I would conclude my talk with a quote: "Let food be the medicine, and medicine be the food," which is quoted by Hippocrates, and another quote which is quoted by Buddha: "To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear." So when we have our food, we will be healthy. So when we are healthy, we can able to keep our mind strong and clear. So thank you. I would like to conclude my talk with one quote: "When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need." So thanks for the patience. Thank you so much. Finally, I will conclude by saying, eat healthy, stay happy, and stay safe. Thank you so much.